Welcome to Q&A or AMA Thursday. Ask me anything today. I have got some great questions lined up for you guys today. Thank you for those of you watching me on the replay. Hopefully I've got to your questions today, but we're going to have a bit of a Q&A. I'm going to answer some of the most frequently asked questions that I get all the time asked me. I get plenty of DMs. In fact, there's one question we're going to answer today that I have been asked probably now 3 times in the last week and a half. So stay tuned. That's what we're going to be talking about today. Alright guys, welcome back to Bridal Business TV. I'm your host, Dawn Rose. Today we're going to have a Q&A day. So I'm going to be answering some of the most frequently asked questions that I get inboxed all the time, that happen inside the groups and the communities and the forums, so that we can get our questions answered. So thank you to those of you that are coming in. I appreciate your attendance this morning. Please drop a line in the comments just to say hi, who you are and where you're from, and please also hit the share button so that we can share this out to everyone who has questions about running their business in the wedding industry. Now, don't forget everyone as well that coming up in a couple of weeks I have got social media bootcamp. So stuck with social, bridalbusinessschool.com/social. If you haven't signed up yet for bootcamp to get all the free downloads, I'm really excited about that. I've been doing so much goes into my bootcamps, guys. I really put a lot of effort into them. So I hope that you guys really enjoy bootcamp. We're gonna have downloads. We're gonna have a few sort of games and things to do. All right. So while people are rocking up, let's start with our first question. Okay, so first question I have got here is, do you recommend boosting posts? Great question. Do I recommend boosting posts? No. So quite bluntly, no, unless you know what you're doing. So if you have used Facebook ads before and you have created yourself audiences inside of Facebook, you know exactly who you want to target with your ad, then go ahead and boost posts. But don't just get a post and you know how Facebook tells us, they send us a message saying you haven't finished your ad. I get that all the time and I think, wait, I don't remember running an ad. But it's just Facebook's way of kind of prompting you to spend money with them. Okay, so if it says finish boosting your ad, I know that you guys probably have never even started boosting your ad in the first place. It's their way of generating their revenue. They're a business, we're a free platform, got to get over it, right? But when it comes to boosting posts, I find that really, unless you're doing it quite strategically, they don't work as well. You're better off taking that post and then creating an ad around it. So my advice is no, don't boost posts. Hey, morning, Jolene. Don't boost posts. Just look at doing them inside of the actual ads manager itself. So that was question number 1. Unless you know what you're doing, don't boost a post. Somebody else has asked me what are good apps for organization. You know, anyone would come up with ideas and answers before I jump on live, but no, I decided that I just have a quick round and just ask myself the questions on the spot. It was a little bit silly of me. Good apps for organization. Okay, so there is Asana. So Asana isn't really an app, it's a desktop application. It might have an app version, but it's really good at organizing your tasks and things that you need to do, especially if you do a lot of admin in your business. So Asana, which is I think it's ASANA. So that's a really good organizational tool. They have a free version of that, and then they have a paid version of it. I started playing with it for a while, but I still do a lot of my organization on paper. I know that sounds really sad. I have a calendar that I put sort of main things into, but I do a lot of my stuff on either on a spreadsheet, or then I have my daily planner, so my monthly planner in front of me. So Asana wasn't something I use, and I also love to write to-do lists. I'm a big to-do list fan, and I find it really therapeutic to just dump everything out my brain and write things down. But if you're looking to get organized with your weddings, guys, Sue McLaurin, she owns the Bridal Beauty Pro app. Some of you may have heard of the Bridal Beauty Pro app. That's a really awesome tool that you have on the go. You can store photos in there. You can store your information as to what you've done with color, and how you've done their hair, etc. The Bridal Beauty Pro app is probably one of the best organizational tools because you've got it in your pocket, and I think that's why Sue designed it. I remember when she said in her interview with me, I said, how did it come about? And she was like, well, you can turn up somewhere and you've got, you've forgotten all your, bits of paper, you've forgotten your file or whatever. And she's like, I just felt like we needed somewhere where everything was in one place. So the Bridal Beauty Pro app, giving that a plug for Sue, you can download that in the App Store. I believe that there is a minimal charge for that. You may have a minimal and an upgraded version now. She's working on it so much. She's also looking at integrating invoicing with that app as well. So how good would that be, guys, if you can set up your brides inside of one app and everything can be done at once. So she's got a desktop, the desktop version of that came out as well just recently. So that's a really great one for keeping you organized. As far as social media goes, I use Preview. I use Preview just to sort of like lay out my Instagram photos so that I know what that's going to kind of look like. But other than that, I don't use a lot of apps to organize myself. I use them, the apps I tend to use tend to be more for creating like stories or creating photos, or not really editing photos because I don't really edit photos, but editing them into the right format, so square format, horizontal, vertical format, that kind of stuff. So yeah, so my tips are, Asana's a really good one, but Bridal Beauty Pro app, for those of you that are doing brides, you're better off using the Bridal Beauty Pro app. All right, next question, guys. If you have questions, please drop them in the comment box. It's Q&A Thursday. Ask me anything, and I will endeavour to answer your questions. All right, so the other question, next question I got asked, we did post, we did apps for organisation. Okay, I like this one. Okay, Facebook or IG, if you had to pick one platform, which would you choose? That's a good question. Okay, so I favour Facebook, and I think that I love Instagram. I love exploring Instagram, but I definitely feel like if I had to choose, if I, hands tied behind my back, choose Facebook or Instagram, I'd choose Facebook just for the capabilities of Facebook, just for the diversity of Facebook and the use of the business manager and ads and stuff. So yeah, I do love Instagram, and I think that we need both to grow our bridal businesses. But if I had to choose, I would definitely just go with Facebook, just for the whole round capabilities of that. Okay, so my other question was, guys, don't forget, if you've got questions, please ask them now. Otherwise, this might be a really short Q&A. Okay, my next question was, how do you go about networking as an introvert? Oh, as an introvert, okay. Okay, so how do you go about networking as an introvert? Okay, so I know what you mean. So basically you're having a hard time reaching out to people because, you feel uncomfortable and awkward as somebody who doesn't like to put themselves out there. How can I put this the nice way? You're going to have to get over it a little bit. You're going to have to put yourself into situations that perhaps are uncomfortable. You're going to have to step out your comfort zone a little bit, but I can give you a few ideas to do that aren't going to make it too much for you. Number one, the biggest tip I can give you is to give before you ask. So if you want to build networking and relationships with people, like be ahead of the game, be somebody that they can go to, and be somebody who perhaps can be the one asking you questions. So be in the know. I tell you, there's someone who I know really well, Sandra, her name. Sometimes she comes in and that she actually does wedding invitations here in Melbourne, and she knew everyone. She sort of kind of made it her business to know everyone in the industry, and she connected other people. And I think that's what's great about her, because I wouldn't have ever said that she was an extrovert, but she was really good at networking, and she was really good at being the person to bring other people together. And I think if you can place yourself in that part where you start getting to know people, and I'm just talking getting to know them on a friendly basis, but she would then say to me, have you ever met such and such? No, oh, he's a really good photographer. And then she'd put that person in touch with me, and then she'd say to somebody else, who was doing flowers or something, she'll go, oh, have you met Dawn? Like, Dawn does hair and makeup and she's in your area. And so she was the person who was the one she knew everyone. That's probably, I think she was absolutely, her invitations were out of this world, but she just was a really good connector. And I think if you can put yourself into that place where you start getting to know the local people around you, I'm not talking maybe having to go to a florist shop and introduce yourself if you find that a little bit uncomfortable, but start getting to know them on social media, start commenting on their posts, asking questions to them, and being genuine and just kind to people, and you'll start building up that network. Then when it comes to having meetups, and in fact Tina has just said here as well, this is a great thing to do. So when you have meetups, so if you find that there are meetups in your area for wedding professionals, or for hair and makeup professionals, and you want to network with others, she's just nailed it. Take a friend to networking events with you. So if you feel uncomfortable, take somebody with you as a buffer, and maybe take that person who's not an introvert too. Take someone who's a little bit more outgoing, who can kind of then just give you that little push perhaps that you need to make connections with people. But it is going to involve you stepping out of your comfort zone. If you want to network, if you want to build in this industry, you are going to have to start connecting with other people, and forming bonds and relationships with people like photographers. You have to think about what a bride does first. Unfortunately, hair and makeup is not the first thing most brides think of. The first thing they think about is the dress and the venue, right? That's the things that they lock down quite far in advance. And then it comes, and maybe even actually stationery, right? Because a lot of them do save the dates as well. But they're going to lock in their venue first of all, to make sure that they can get the date that they want, and then kind of everything else falls onto that. So the biggest place to be able to be networking with is going to be your local venues, and the only way that you can do that and get on those preferred supplier lists is to put yourself out there a little bit, but do things for that venue. Offer to advertise their stuff on, or share stuff onto your page without them asking. So do things before they've even asked you to, because you do it a few times and that venue's going to go, who is this person who keeps sharing my posts? That's really nice. And then they say, oh, she's a makeup artist, let's have a look at her work. Because then they might be thinking, perhaps we need to build up some relationships too. So yes, as Tina's saying, it's like a security blanket. Yeah, just taking somebody else along with you for the ride, definitely. So I hope that answers your question about networking. I think definitely if you can be the connector, that will really help you connect other people to other people, and then you start really being the person where, because I wouldn't have thought of anyone else to go to for invitations. It would have been Sandra. Like, I would have just gone, oh yeah, I know someone who does invitations, 100%, because she was always going, oh, have you met this person? Have you met this person? Have you met this person? Or I'd like to introduce you to her, and I'll give you her number. She was always that connector, and it just meant that I knew that she was trustworthy as well. So definitely look at trying to connect with people, but connect with people on social. And don't forget, another thing I want to say about networking as well is that when you're at your bride's houses, so when you're at the house, the photographer's coming, and you've got people delivering flowers, maybe, guys, go and exchange your business cards, especially with those photographers, and just say, oh, you know, this is my card, you know, if it's okay, I've spoken to the bride, she said it's okay for me to give you an email after and get a couple of your sort of behind the scenes shots, you know, and then you just make sure as well that you credit your photographers and things like that. So just be seen to be doing the right things. Okay, so how much should I pay an assistant or another stylist? Wow. Okay. So this is a question that has actually been asked to me a lot in the last week. This is the one question that I have seen as well in the forums, and I've seen some right ways to respond to that question. I've seen some really horrible ways to respond to that question. And in fact, I had a message just recently and from an artist who was, I think, quite upset because somebody had really attacked her inside of a forum because she was offering to take somebody under her wing and pay them a fee that obviously somebody wasn't happy about. Somebody wasn't, they thought it was too cheap or whatever. And then, funnily enough, another person messaged me about 2 days later and said, hey Dawn, I'm booking a bigger wedding party, but I really need another hair and makeup artist to help me because I can't do it by myself. What should I offer to pay them? So let's talk about that. I'd be interested to know your thoughts as well. Actually, Tina, you're a good person to answer this because you have a team. But so my theory is this: when you book, let's just talk about assistants. Okay, so let's just talk about assistants. So this is not a qualified, or it might be someone who's just qualified, just fresh out of school, perhaps very new to the industry, never done their own work before, and they're looking to assist you. Now, this is not assisting on commercial and editorial. Remember, I come from a wedding background, so I'm talking about having someone come along and help me with a bridal party or a big special occasion party. Okay, so this is not going on set. This is not commercial editorial stuff. That's something completely different. But if you're an assistant that is coming to do work with a hair and makeup artist, my theory is that you should pay them on an hourly rate, okay? And you should sort of think, well, what is it that I'm actually asking them to do for a start? Because there's going to be a certain point where that assistant becomes more of just an assistant because you're allowing them to do more. But when it comes to them being an assistant and literally passing you pins, maybe doing a little bit of curling for you, hair prep, you know, just that kind of stuff, maybe even at the end, you know, doing tiaras, maybe at the end, putting lashes on, that kind of stuff. So if you're looking for somebody to assist you, to help you with your bridal party, then I would say that you pay them on an hourly rate. Now, how much you pay, and this goes for whether you're booking a proper full-on artist or an assistant, but how much you pay is going to be in proportion to what it is that you're charging your brides. So if you're charging your brides only, I don't know, say $100 for a face of makeup, and you're doing maybe 8 people, it's going to take you, let's say it's going to take you 6 hours to do those 8 people. Then if you were paying somebody, an assistant, to sort of aid you, you know, maybe do lip liners or lips and maybe lashes, that kind of thing, or I wouldn't be paying her more than $30 to $40 an hour. Okay, so paying around $40 an hour, I mean, that's a kind of a 60-40 split. That's quite a lot for an assistant to get. Now, again, it's going to vary as to how much you're going to be asking that person to do, but if she's getting $30 to $40 an hour, to me, and she's using your stuff, right? That's the other thing. She might be bringing her own, brushes and stuff. But really she's using your makeup, your equipment, it's your booking, and she's just assisting you. So I think that paying somebody $30 to $40 an hour to come and work with you on a booking is more than fair. I think it's more than fair. $40 an hour for a, newly qualified. I don't know, you guys can chime in, tell me if you think that that's not fair. But I think $30 to $40 an hour for an assistant supporting a stylist, I think that's fair. And you pay them on an hourly rate. It's up to you whether you then want to include travel in that. When I worked with my assistants, they came with me. I would say to them, be at my house by 6 a.m. and I will drive us there. That was their job. All they had to do was come, and I would normally have people local. So I'd be like, just come drive to my house and we'll go together. Because then I didn't have to pay them for travel and that kind of stuff because they were with me. And I didn't pay them for the time we were in the car either. I would only pay them for the time that we were at the bride's house. So if I said I need you between 12 and 4, they'd get paid for, but you have to be with me at 11 because we've got to get there. Then that was just incidental because you got to think about it. If you're in an office job, you get paid for the time that you're actually doing the work. You don't get paid for your travel to and from work, right? It doesn't work that way. Not many companies pay like that. So for an assistant, I believe that was fair. Newly qualified, yes. So less than 3. So what's Tina saying here? We have employees 30 per hour. Then when we have contractors, we have 3 different levels. Love that. Okay, yes. So we'll get on to contractors. So I think $30 to $40 an hour, depending on how good they are, depending on how much you're charging your brides. Again, think about this. If you're only charging your brides $80, then maybe $40 to give to an assistant is a little bit too much. Maybe you want to look at the $30 mark. But I think $30 per hour for somebody who is brand new, and most of the time they're quite young as well, they'd probably be happy to be paid at $30 an hour. I think it's a pretty reasonable amount to be paid. So there's not a lot of other jobs that pay, I don't think, our assistants as well as we do. A lot of them get paid a lot less than that in other professions, I mean. All right, so now let's talk about contractors, because here's where it gets a bit tricky, and I've seen it get nasty in the forums, and I get so angry at people when they are just nasty. So when it comes to a contractor, again, you need to decide how you want to pay them. Now, when you've got a team of 3 or 4 kind of contractors that are working with you continuously, in a little bit of a way, even though they're working for you, you're acting a little bit like an agency in a way. And so I know that there are agencies that will take a 60-40 cut. So they'll pay the stylist 60% and they'll keep 40% for themselves. Most of the time now, I think that's probably gone to more like the 20 to 25% now, because most artists that are joining industries tend to have a lot more experience, and therefore you pay more for that experience. But let me put this into perspective. If you are a hair and makeup artist and you have got a big booking, and you've realized now that there's 8 people and they all want hair and makeup, and you can't do hair and makeup, so I'm the hairstylist, I'm going to do hair, so I need to get someone on to do the makeup. Okay, you can do this in 2 different ways. You can either, 1, keep a percentage back for yourself, which covers your booking, your bride, your to and fro, your admin, etc., etc., or you can just pass on the money to the bride. So whatever you're charging your bride, let's say you're charging 80 for hair, 80 for makeup, just to be easy, we might want to pass on that full amount of $80 to the other stylists. Now, you got to think about this in a couple of different ways. If you want to keep working with this stylist, maybe you've worked with them in the past before, and you're hoping that it might become reciprocal, then you might want to just pass on the full amount to that stylist and hope that when she gets a booking, she books you on to do the hair, for example. Now, you can do that, and then you kind of form a little bit, not really a partnership in the fact of, you know, you have to always book her, but you build a rapport and a relationship with a local artist, and you team up, especially if you only do hair or if you only do makeup. You know, it means that you can take on those bigger bookings, and you can, you know, you can hopefully then, if she gets a bigger booking, she's going to book you as the hairstylist, and if you get a bigger booking, you can book her as the makeup artist. Now, the other way you can do it would be to take a percentage back for you know, like I said, for admin and stuff. So I would say that you're taking somewhere around $20 to $30 out of 100. So, you know, 25 to 30% you keep back for yourself. There is so many variations in this industry, and I feel like that there's kind of no right or wrong answer here. And I think it also depends on what your fees are. And where I get angry with people telling you that you can't pay them that, and that's too cheap, and you know, no one's going to work for that price, that's utter bullshit. Okay, it's utter crap, because at the end of the day, there are plenty of hair and makeup artists out there that will be happy to work for $70 an hour. I know quite a few of them, because you know, they just kind of want to come and they want to earn a little bit of money, and they love what they do. They're making a little bit of profit, and that's what they're happy with. So I kind of get a little bit angry when people tell other people, you need to be paying so much more than that, and you know, how dare you, etc. You're bringing the industry down. Ugh. You know, go away. I want to swear a bit more, but I'm not going to. I'll try and keep my live streams PG. But I just get really stressed about it. I just think that whole, you know, a girl recently just posted in a forum, and she said, when I was working as an assistant, as a sort of secondary artist stroke assistant, I was quite new to the industry, and the cut was 60-40. She was actually in the forum saying, you know, this is what I was paid. I'm looking for somebody that's fairly new, that wants to build up their portfolio. So she wasn't asking for experienced artists, and she was saying, and the pay is, you know, $40 or $50 an hour. And she was slammed by a few artists, and I saw that a few people obviously kept quiet. But then it's funny, because the same question has just been asked. This was a different group, so this same question was asked in Martha's group yesterday. It was a completely different conversation, and everyone was like, yeah, that's a good idea, but how about maybe this way? Or when I was looking at artists, you know, I charged them this much. It was such a more pleasant conversation in Martha's, you know, the bridal stylist, Australian bridal stylists group. Everyone was like, this is kind of my thoughts, but you know, you go with what you want. Whereas this other beauty group was just slamming this girl, and I felt so bad for her. It was awful. And she screenshot the messages to me, and I was horrified at how these makeup artists were speaking to her. And the thing is that my opinion is that they don't know you, they don't know your bride, they don't know the area that you live in, they don't know how much you're charging. You know, for you to give somebody $50 an hour and you're only charging your bride $60, like, that doesn't make any sense. So you know, get your facts before you start having to go at people about, you know, not paying enough. You know, find out what their clientele is like, where they live, because you know, depending on where you live is going to depend on how much you charge your brides and for your bookings and stuff. So let me just bring up Tina's on the screen. So Tina says that she has employees that are $30 an hour, and she has contractors, and she has 3 different levels. So 3 years or below, she pays $65 per person. So she does a per person rate. And I think that when you come to doing other artists, I think you should pay per person rather than per hour, but that's just my opinion. 3 to 7 years, she pays $75, and 7 years plus. So she has a great scale there as to what, and that's proportionate then to what she is charging her brides, which I love. And down here, so she's saying roughly Yeah, so roughly 70-30 split, so around 30%. So she's saying I take 30% of the booking and they get 70% of the booking. I think that's really reasonable. I think that's a great amount to offer to other stylists when you are, especially if you are providing them with a big wedding party. So let me see what Nolene said. Okay, so Nolene says, I worked for a company that charged about 110 and only paid 45. Okay, and I was 26 years qualified. Okay, so yeah, so there is a balance there. So now I get what you're saying there, Nolene, and that to me, that is, you are ripping stylists off a little bit there. I think that is not great. However, let me just take this from a different point of view and say that to some artists, $45 is enough for them, and if they feel like that's enough, then they'll work for it. And we have a choice, right? We have a choice. If we don't want to work for that person and we don't want to, we know we can get paid. The reason why people leave places like this, the reason why people don't stay working for companies like that, and they'll have a really high staff turnover, is because the hair and makeup artists realize that they can actually make more money if they can do it themselves. And that's what generally happens. Now, whether that's true or not, because we all know it's not easy to get wedding bookings. Like, it takes some effort and it takes some time to build up that with other people, and it takes our time to build our own businesses up. But that's the reason why, because they think to themselves, well, I don't want to be paid $45. I think that what they charge the bride is, in a way, irrelevant to the person working. It's only relevant to the company as to how much profit they're making. I don't think that it's relevant to a makeup artist what a company, what an agency charges, because at the end of the day, if you don't want to work for that money, don't take the booking on. That's my opinion. If somebody said to me, it's got to a point where, even when I was a temp, so going back to when I was a temp, like, pre-Holly, so pre-10 years ago, and I worked in the city, and people would give me a temp job and it would be like $26 an hour. I wouldn't get out of bed for $26 an hour. I'm like, you've got to be joking. Once you're up in the high 30s, I'm there. But otherwise, I'm not. It's not worth my while, because I knew my value as a temp, and I knew I'd done a lot more work for a higher pay than that. So when an agency got to me and said, it's $26 an hour, I'd be like, no, come back to me when you found something at like $36, $40 an hour. But that's because I knew better, right? But when I first started out, I was like, $26 an hour? Yeah, I'll take it. I'll take the work. So you've got to think about it that way. It doesn't matter really how qualified you are. If you don't want to take the booking, don't take the booking. That's kind of the way I see it. Yes, so you say, so Nelly's saying, I now work with girls and we work as a team and we charge the bride and we just halve it. Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. You've got to decide what's right for you. And that's what I said. I said that a lot of people said that in the forum yesterday, when somebody asked and they said, what do you do now? And they said, look, depends on what you want to do. If you want to create a relationship with these people and you want to work with them all the time, maybe doing a 50-50 split is a great idea. 50% to you, 50% to them. Maybe, I don't know, you can always say, I'll just take a $10 booking fee. I always just take a $10 booking fee from everyone. Otherwise, the rest of the money is yours. Maybe you do that. You've got to do what's reasonable to you. And for people to turn around and say, you should be charging this, and how dare you do that, it really gets my back up. I wish I was in the forum to have been able to chime in, although I try not to chime in with people having arguments in forums, because it gets a bit silly, doesn't it? But yeah, I think when it comes to charging your artists, it's got to be relevant to what you're charging brides, because if your prices are low, and people going, oh, well, you get what you pay for, and okay, you do in a way, but although you get, Nolene saying that I worked for somebody that was paid $45 and I had 26 years experience, so maybe you don't get what you pay for. Maybe sometimes you get more than what you pay for. Yeah, because I would think with 26 years experience, Nolene's pretty damn good as a hair and makeup artist. So I'm not saying don't ask in the forums. I think that you should ask in the forums, but maybe if you're ever worried about something like that, present the facts a little bit more as well and say, hey, look, I live in an area where it's a little bit like this and I don't get too much of that. And I know that people just post in the forums thinking, I know all my beauty friends will help me. And then, you know, and give me some advice and some ideas. And in some forums, like my forum and in Martha's forum, we all support each other and we, you know, give advice and we help. And then you have the other ones where people's opinions are like, well, I've been doing this since I was 18 years old and I've been charging $125 for a face of makeup since I was 18. So why aren't you charging that kind of money? And it's like, well, good for you. Do you know what I mean? Gets really angry. Tina says, I don't care what other people think. They don't know my overheads. Exactly. It frustrates me. But I mean, you know, you do think though, don't you, that in a forum amongst other professionals, amongst colleagues who should be, you know, helping to support and you know, boost the industry rather than bringing an artist down. And really what that person should have done is there was a few people that were like really bashing this girl, and what they should have done was just taken it off the forum and just sent her a little DM even saying, hey, look, in my opinion, I think that that's a little bit low, and I would be worried for you about the type of makeup artist or hairstylist you're going to attract if you're only charging that kind of money. Like, why would you be so horrible and just and just, you know, slam somebody who she quite clearly stated, I'm looking for people that want to build their portfolio. And when I was working for an agency, I was being paid this, so I was thinking that maybe I'll probably charge around that as well. And it was just like, bam, it's like, you know, the claws came out and everyone was just trying to, you know, take her down. It was horrible. It was really horrible. I was quite shocked at the way people were behaving, but yeah, just some people are just like that. And what they say, it just seems that their opinion is the only opinion that that matters, obviously. No one else's opinion counts, but they'll get far, I'm sure. All right, guys. Well, that was it for today. They were my top questions that I get asked all the time. So if anyone else has any other questions, please do not hesitate to send me a message. If you don't like the rate of pay, don't offer to work. Exactly. Yeah. I completely agree, Tina. Totally. Yeah. If you don't like it, then, you know, you don't work for them. You know, just the way they were saying was, oh, you know, I'll see if I can find one of the messages. I don't know if I've got them in my computer still, in my phone still, but it was just like, you know, oh, that's really bad. You can't be doing this. And then somebody else chimes in going, you should listen to her because she's been in this industry a long time. And the girl's going to her, no, I am listening, but it's just when I was doing it, that's what I was paid. And so I thought that was acceptable. And she's like, oh, and I, you know, it does get to a point where I feel like you shouldn't engage with these people anymore because there's just no point in engaging with them because it makes you just feel a bit crappy, really. But I can't find the messages. I'll have to see if I can find them. But yeah, it was just me, and that is exactly my opinion. If you don't want to work for $40 an hour, then don't offer to work for $40 an hour. But the thing is, I bet you if people hadn't have put on there about how, you know, too cheap she was or how she should have been paying more, I bet you she would have had lots of people responding going, yeah, I'll take it, or I've DM'd you, or this is my Facebook account. I reckon it would have been good. But anyway, that's it. Done for this week. Don't forget, guys, join Social Media Bootcamp, bridalbusinessschool.com/social right there on the screen, and to get all the free downloads for Social Media Bootcamp starting on the 17th of June, Australian Eastern Standard Time. All right. Yeah, it's definitely relative. Exactly. You know, again, like I said, if you're charging $80 for hair and makeup, If you're charging $80 for a face of makeup, then you can't really afford to pay somebody else, maybe, you know, an assistant, $70. It just doesn't work that way, because that's not relative. So all right guys, take care. See you all next week. Bye for now.